Okay. And okay, nope, we're good. All taken care of. Okay, we are recording. So I just got through explaining that we will be going transforming our air supply, doubling it by going to these 3/4 inch diameter ball valves, which will exist in place of all of the green supply valves that we're using today. Um, they're they're uh, they're easier to work with. They have the breakaway capability so that you don't have to hang yourself on them, and they're safer to use. So we still are going to use the click spray with them, but this is again another step forward. And what that does is we're making a modification. Explain my modification. Okay, hang on just a second. Do. Had some. Oh yes, there we go. Now this funny looking thing is the inside of our hood, and it's elastic, stretches, nice, but it has this little warning sticker inside. Okay, and it's warning sticker. Made in China, warning. Cancer and reproductive harm. www.p65warningscalifornia.gov. We don't use it. That's that. We're not interested in anything that contains a warning. So we've stepped away from the idea of securing the top of the hood to your head. We've got a better idea. We're gonna inflate it like a balloon. So by adding more air, what it will do is it'll lift up all by itself, and then you won't have the effect that you're seeing, which is that it's coming down and covering your eyes. So we get a little more air into these things, and we tighten up our bib. If you watch, right? Hey, I just increased my altitude pressure. Do you see that? Really cool. Um, that effect. So it also lead for cleaner face shields, um, and your hair won't be sopping wet when you pull the hood off. No, I'm not. It wasn't that bad, but it was sticky and tacky. Did anybody was anybody driving out there in that lightning tonight? That was crazy. That was crazy. Yeah. I wondered whether or not we were going to lose power. Um, anyway, um, interesting story. Um, David, I don't know, but I think I'm going to have to put you on a longer hose here and ask you um, if you can sit here because I'm going to drive there. Hold on, I've got it linked to the hose automatically. If you just turn around a little bit here. Um, okay, now if you will step over there and have a seat. Tell you what. The dance of the hoses. Yeah, this is going to be a new normal. Lots of horsing around with these things. So, I'm going to attempt to bring up a PowerPoint. So everybody out there in Happy Land should be able to see the PowerPoint. David's the only one that can. I just realized that. But at least all you folks can, and everybody online can. Okay, so David, if you figure out what you can do to move a chair around or whatever, actually I can do this. All right. So. Okay, so we have a early system. We are in pilot, we are in beta. Lots of things going on. Lots of things to learn about. Some of them are regular. Some of them are still. I am struggling with my hose. Can you disentangle me? Okay. I am now disconnected from my hose. That's better. Okay. So some of the things that we need to be able to do is to check the airflow and be sensitive to smells. Our air is now coming to us via a pipe from another room in another part of the building. Things can happen in there before we know it in here, or know it in the reactor room, or know it in the lab. And so, obviously, if the air stops flowing, for right now, the protocol is go ahead and reach up and grab the back part of your hood and just gently pull it off. And then go ahead and put on your bandana or whatever your standard, and then take a step away from everybody else in some direction. We will very quickly get people isolated and out of confined rooms until we can figure out what happened to the air system. We're going to build resilience and redundancy into the system. We don't have it today, but that's what prototyping is all about. You know, the first planes that flew, Orville and Wilbur Wright did not have parachutes, contrary to popular belief. I know it sounds crazy. They weren't even invented yet. No one had thought about jumping out of an airplane. So, if you start to smell something strange, don't wait around until it gets nasty. If you're smelling something and it smells wrong, or like a chemical or electrical or something, go ahead and pull your hood right away. Especially if it smells like smoke, something burning, any of those kinds of things. A huge stop the train, don't go forward. Okay, so one of the things that came up last week, and I considered it to be pretty important, was this business of being able to carry on a conversation. Um, so I'm going to teach you all how to do that. Okay? You folks that are kind of walking over the edge, you can kind of pick up on the side. Look over David's shoulder, you'll catch on. What? They can see you because that stool has a camera on it. And so if you look at the screen, that screen is what we're actually. Oh, wait a minute. No, they can't. They're watching this silly PowerPoint. Boy, Christina, good shot. Let's jump down for a second. Okay, here we are. Thank you. Nice catch. And how come the rest of you out there let me get away with that? Come on. You know, PowerPoint? Anyway, we'll get back to the PowerPoint in a minute. So the way this is done is, say I want to talk to you, okay? But I want to have a private conversation like right through the side of my hood, but I don't want it to go over the radio. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my, I'm going to reach up and I'm going to pick up my headphone right here. I can actually feel it. Pick it up, turn my head, and set it back. I've got an ear out. Okay? I don't know if you can see that, but I've got an ear out. And I can, this is pretty cool. And I can have this conversation over here. And so what I'll do is I'll reach up and I'll turn my mic off. Other important. And so when I turn the mic off, then no one is anywhere else is hearing what's going on. When I'm done, twist my head around, pick up the head, rotate my head back into place, set it back down, and I'm good to go. Now, in my case, my glasses fall off, but my headphones are holding my glasses on, which is really cool. I considered that in advance because last week I was going around reaching through my face mask trying to push my glasses back on. So, these are the things that astronauts dream about. Okay, so air evaluation. Now, I want you to understand how we do that. We got a handy-dandy little gadget here. See, it's got a windmill in it. Pretty cool. I can wave it around a little bit and you see the little propeller turn. This is called an anemometer. And I'm going to step over. Why don't you stay where you are? Go ahead and no, not even required. I'm just going to reach over here and I'm going to grab this hose. And I'm going to turn this hose open and there's air coming out of it. I can hear it. Okay? And the way this works is, this thing is set to 0, and I put this up against the go-to part, and I hold this up against the front part, and I read the number. And I've got 1515. 15. Okay, now that reading is real important because it's what we call an inline reading. The journey for the air going the rest of the way into the hood has a certain amount of static pressure associated with it. and that's called back pressure. And so the air that's now coming out of the hose, if I measure just the air that's coming out of the hose, it'll be much higher than it would be in line because it still has a resistance in line. But if I have the incoming and the outgoing connected and I have this in the middle, then I'm getting an accurate picture of the flow. And this is critical because this is what the government regulation, NIOSH, CFR 95, la-di-da, yeah. And I've been reading these regulations about these airflow numbers, and this is the meter guide that you get to catch in on. Now, I noticed something else is not going on. Give me just a second while I double check on it. At 7:45, that germicidal light should come on all by itself. If it doesn't, I'm gonna be disappointed. Let me go back to the button. I think I know what the problem is. Does say auto, so it's supposed to be doing what it's. Oh, there it comes right now. Boom. Okay. Hang on. Those of you who are looking at the screen right now, you'll notice in the top right-hand side of your screen, David's down in the bottom left, there is a germicidal lamp, and it just came on. And those come on every 15 minutes and run for 5 minutes. And they are part of the new here. And they're in all the labs, and all the labs have the same sequence. So what you need to think about, David, is that you have 10 minutes, 3 times an hour, in which you can move biological samples around without getting them toasted. But if you have something out of the plastic or out of the glass or with no effective shield in front of it, at top of the hour, 15 after, 30, and 45, it'll get roasted.
Now, is that just true in this room?
That is true of all the rooms. They're all set to the same time frame. So, but that goes on now on an automated basis, just quietly sterilizing everything in its path. Pretty cool, actually.
Hey, Carl.
Yeah.
I think I might have like a small leak coming out of like over here. I can kind of feel air coming out.
Let me take a look.
put your hand like right here, you can kind of feel.
It does feel cold. Let me see. You feel it now?
Nope.
Okay, so it was a little bit of a fold right there.
Mm.
And what I'll do is, I don't have any tape handy, but if you just give that wrinkle a press, if you feel it,
Alright.
that will solve the problem for now, and I will see to it that gets corrected. Yeah, I did most of these hoses today, so my bad. Okay, so I think we're in better condition than we were last week. We're going to play some musical chairs. I want to talk to accommodations, and I thank you to Caitlin, who helped us make our lab accommodable for future generations of people to come. We have a dongle, hangs down, just for who don't want to do the high jump, and it's in every lab. So when you go into that lab, that's what that's there for. And for right now, Caitlin is the master of all of them. So that just kind of tells you where she's going to land. We will add more dongles as we need to, and we will make other accommodations. We may have to make accommodations for communications, some amplification for those people that can't hear so well. I think we've got that knocked. These headphones they rock. So we got that one around. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take a journey to a couple of labs, and then we'll ultimately land in the reactor lab, and we're going to attempt to actually run the reactor. Ooh, wouldn't that be cool? Actually, it's a dance of the hoses. I want to see how we get around. There's some protocols, some things about the hose. If I touch your hose, it's really okay. It's really okay if somebody lifts the hose and goes under it. Okay? You're going to have to, because somebody's going to be working there, and you're not going to go up and go, "Excuse me, can you move your hose so I can step?" Or no. You're just going to walk up behind them, pick up the hose, slide under if that's what it takes, and then go click in downstream from them. Because we've got some of those long corridor type situations, there's really no other way to get it done. If you see somebody become disconnected, you are in a position to get to it before they are. By all means, take the initiative. Go, "Hey, you're disconnected. I've got it." Step around, plug them back in, let them get on with it. We're all watching each other's back. And the two big things with air hoses is nobody is going to suffocate in this thing, because if this air hose gets cut off, you just pull the hose. It's not, you don't lose points around here. You're not going to get in trouble if you need to pull your hood off. Please pull your hood off. What I don't want to see is this thing sheet white with sweat, and you're going, "I'm blind, I can't see." Not a good moment. Okay? So let's take a trip to the biology room. We're gonna go down there and we're gonna land. David, let me get you disconnected. And we're gonna go down to the biology room. I'm gonna let you guys go ahead. Dave and I will follow up. Now, you folks who are watching online, I'm going to turn the camera just a moment. Cool. Okay, we are here and the camera is watching us. We landed. Anyone have any issues as far as getting here? Okay. I don't have an exercise planned for this room tonight, but this is going to be the fun one. This is going to be the room in which I think the most dancing goes on, because someone's got to go get something out of the cabinet and then someone's got to go get something out of the drawer, and I can just see it. It's going to be a lot of fun. But we're going to learn some things that aren't even on the horizon right now. We're going to figure out ways to get around problems. We are literally explorers. There's no one else that's done this before to this level. Okay? Ordinarily, to give you an idea, okay, if you're in a biology unit, there may be one or two people that are suited up the way we are, sitting in front of one of these things. And they don't wear these things and go from room to room. They don't click in. They don't have their own comm systems. None of that. This is a whole nother scale. So we're going to learn some things that just aren't in the books. I'm going to be having to get my glasses on. Okay, so I'm going to go into the reactor room. We've already got the reactor warmed up. And then I want you folks to come on in, and I will begin giving people instructions. And we're just going to go through an exercise. Just try to walk through some steps and see how it goes. So I'm out first. And want everyone to stay in the biology lab there for. Oh, we already Those of you who've disconnected, come on and plug in. But I've got a camera here I've got to bring in. So we need more eyes. Got to make sure the folks at home can see what's going on. Okay. So that will help. Okay. Okay. Trevor, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you see all of us in the reactor room?
I can.
Good. All right.
Carl, I don't think my mic is connected. Like, I can't hear you very well.
Oh, okay. Hang on just a second. We can hear you really well.
Okay.
Ah, I see. I can feel it. Can you hear me now?
No.
Check 1, 2. Can you hear me now? Okay. Let me go get another radio because what's happened here is the jack on this thing died. Hang on. Okay, can you hear us now?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and did that just fail?
It was like breaky the whole time, staticky, but then it just failed.
Okay, yeah, not cool. These aren't high-end radios, but yeah. I'll order another fistful so we got them. We'll just use them till we find out what's going to keep them going. Okay, so reactor's good and cool. Caitlin, why don't you turn around and sit down at the stool. And turn around here and face the keyboard. Pardon me while I key in some magic numbers. Okay. Alrighty. I got the reactor up and pumping. Our vacuum is all the way down. I'm going to go ahead and have Christina. The first thing I'm going to ask you to do is there's a valve on this white tank. I want you to go ahead and open it. Just a half turn. Okay? Okay? And now around on this side, there's a valve here, and I want you to turn it clockwise. Just keep turning it clockwise until you see this guy come up to 15 pounds. Okay, good, good. All right. Now, this is the part I get to do.
The copper blocks look really good.
Yes. I put some calcium hypochlorite in the pump to kill all of the green thingies that were growing in there in the water supply. If I did it right, I calculated the same amount that you would put in a pool for a shock. So about half cup. Just no, actually, half cup would melt down the machine pretty thoroughly.
I've had students make those kind of calculations and mess those up. Like the students who decided that their yeast didn't work because the yeast was not producing the carbon dioxide because they had it in a pH 2
Okay.
solution. Didn't occur to them pH 2 is going to kill them. Okay. Alrighty, now go ahead and push the D2 gas. All right. And it's interesting, boy. We've got vacuum all the way open. This should be 201. Okay. So over here on this control, go ahead and click power. All right. Now, I want you to take this wheel and I want you to spin it up to about 389. Oops, sorry. All right, so you can see this is 3.9 or 899. We're in the ballpark. So click console. We can see gas coming in. Go ahead and click that button right there. Just push it. So we see that this is where you brought it up. That's where we opened the valve. And so now here is the gas level coming up to 4. And the other one is the roughing pressure. So we're getting a little bit of drainage coming out the back of it. Okay, so touch that graph again. And now we're going to go ahead and click the high voltage. Square button, middle of the screen. High voltage. Yep. Good, good. All right, that arms the system, but it doesn't actually start anything. Starting the system happens when you press the high voltage button, red one, like Caleb's going to do. Okay, so have a seat. Yeah, you're good. Okay, Caitlin, you're driving. And already we've got 30,000 volts. Let's take a look at radiation. Go ahead and click that screen. And so we see a little bit of radiation down there in neutron counts. Touch it again. We've got 5 milliamps. We're running about 25,000 volts. We're using about 110 watts. We're starting to see a little bit of REM activity. Ballast temperatures at 75, and everything else is in the green. Everything else is in the green. Okay, look down here on the scope, we can see some neutron count trickling in. With our headphones on and everything, I can't hear any count. So maybe that's something we need to think about going forward, because there are certain alarms and certain audio notifications that we no longer have access to in the current setting. Okay, so I'm going to take a neutron probe here. Things look pretty tame right now. Okay, so I'm going to set that up here because we're going to be using it. And I want you to go back to the power screen. So that little teeny button over there on the left, power. And I want you to back that down to 333, just the next step up. And a trick when you're using this, actually the farther out here that you have, the better the control. So if you're driving it back in here, you're actually making much smaller movement than if you're driving it out here, and you actually have much better control out here. Okay, so now touch the console. Let's see what we did. Okay, now we're up at 35,000. We've got some more neutrons. Go ahead and touch that again, see? Okay, so we now see some neutron count coming in here. And we're up at about 200,000 neutrons per second isotropic. Okay, now check. How's everybody's air right now? Is anyone having any issues with their air? Anyone having any condensation issues? Okay. General overall comfort. How about your gloves? Those funny wrist pads, are they bothering you? Okay. All right. All right. We do have a great big UVC back here too. Let's see, what time are we at? 7:57. So that in about 3 minutes, this ultraviolet UVC light back here will go on. It is largely designed not to directly shine on us. What it's doing is it's shining up and it's purifying the air throughout the room, killing everything that's moving around. Okay, so you can see that your overall neutrons are continuing to climb. Let's hit the button again, hit the graph, and go back here and we notice we're almost up to 40,000 volts. Let's go back to power, and we're going to take it down to 278. Okay, now we're hearing something right now. And what we're hearing is an X-ray alarm. I'm going to go ahead and silence it, and what it means is that we are now producing X-rays. Go ahead and hit console. We're up at 60,000 volts, and go ahead and hit neutrons. Substantial increase. We're up at 700,000 neutrons per second isotropic. We're going to take a look at that with the probe. So right now, that's about 2 millirem. So, want to illustrate something. That indeed is. Okay, that's 2 millirem. What's that? In other words, I just moved out that far from the reactor, and look what happened to the rate. What happens if I go out here? We're down to 71, 22 counts. So the formula 4 pi r, which is the distance from a point source, anytime you have a point source that's giving off radiation, you move away from that point source, it's 4 pi r squared is the formula to calculate the loss of energy, and it happens really quick. What I'm telling you is that any kind of a nuclear radiation situation, even UVC radiation from a single source, distance is the best thing you can throw between it and you. Don't try to go jump behind something. Put distance between you and it. That distance will actually mitigate the effect of the radiation much faster than anything else you can grab and hold up in front of you or whatever. Back in the day, I know there were people who were building fusers, and they were literally going around and hiding under the stairwell while I turned these things on, thinking that was going to make things better. They'd done a lot of work on studying how a fuser worked, but they didn't do much work at all on radiation safety, and that's the big difference here. Lots of attention being paid to radiation safety. Okay, I'm going to take a look over here.
Carl, is any of the UVC coming over here?
Actually, the UVC is on right now, folks, and no, it's basically bouncing up. I'm getting it directly, so yeah, I'm getting a
Okay,
faceful.
Christina needs to be as far away as possible.
Oh, she got,
Yeah, she's got booties instead of socks.
oops. Okay, slide that direction, please.
Yeah, you guys
Yeah,
move over to there. Yeah. Okay, that'll work.
we're going to have socks next week, right? Okay. Yep. Okay. go ahead and touch that graph again. And let's go ahead and hit the high voltage button. Okay, and I want you to hit the D2 as well. Okay, so what that does is that shuts down the gas flow and that shuts down the high voltage. We're going to rotate here. Caitlin, I'm going to have you step out. And Evan, why don't you go ahead and take the rocket seat? Yeah, okay, so the two of you figure out what you have to do in order to get switched around. I think all you have to do is just come around this side of the pipe. I think you can just go out and sit where he was. Okay? All right, now let's go ahead and hit the D2 button again. No, D2's down here. Okay, now over here, there's a power button.
Caitlin, you just ran a nuclear reactor. Pretty cool, huh?
Okay, I want you to dial this down to 0. Okay, click console. Okay, click high voltage on. Okay, go back to power and bring it up to 389. Okay, did you catch that earlier about being out here? You got more control than you do back here. Okay, console. And now, Christina, can you go ahead and punch the power button? Yeah. Now, in the future, what we want to do is step under, not over. Because when we step over, there's a much higher probability of falling than is if we lift the hose up and step under it. I realize there's a tendency not to because you got this thing over your head and you can't see what's above you and so on, but we don't want to be playing hopscotch in here. This is not the place for balance. Okay. So let's take a look at the numbers and see what you got. Go ahead and hit neutrons. So this screen right here. And we've got about 100,000. Okay, click out of that. Just touch the middle of the screen. Okay. Now, let's touch con flap front and rear. This is telling us that our temperatures for both the front and rear con flat are remaining the same. Pretty solid. Okay, so click it back. And let's look at watts. Nice and stationary. Okay, come out of that. All right, now let's go to power. And let's bring it down to 333. console. Okay, we're now up at 42,000 volts. Let's take a look at neutrons. And we're up over 300,000 neutrons per second. And so if you were going to take this up to 65,000 volts, click power, and you're going to make your adjustment here, but you are not going to look at what point on this dial you are. You're watching this guy, and you're going to stop at 65,000. So notice he's making adjustments to the gas, but he's watching the impact . 65. Perfect. Good. Okay. Again, we got the X-ray alarm. I'm going to go ahead and shut that off. And this time, Caleb, I want you to go ahead, stand up, and you're going to take the probe very carefully. That's a humongously expensive probe, and the meter, and take a reading. Go ahead and put it flush up against the surface. It's about 500 counts. Actually, a little more. So we're going to say about 600. Okay? Go ahead and park it. That actually goes straight down. Yeah, like that. Okay? Now, let's take a look at our radiation again. Neutrons? We're at about 750,000, 750,000 neutrons per second isotropic. I want to tell you that is a lot of radiation. For one of these fusers, most of them run in the 30 to 50,000 volt range. There's very few 100,000 volt machines out there. This is a true 100,000 volt machine. Very few of these machines are capable of reaching even 500,000 neutrons per second isotropic. We've gone 1.5 million, 2 million. So, very interesting design that has evolved over 10 years. And lots of really good engineering went into it. And I have to say that all that engineering came out of the minds of high school kids who just wouldn't let it be where it was. Really an amazing machine. We had the University of Puget Sound here, and they came to see because they wanted, there was a bunch of engineers there that apparently wanted to try to build a fuser. I have never heard the response I heard back in my life. This really blew me away. They came in, they looked at what was going on, kind of drop-jawed, and then we made them an offer. We said, hey, you know, why don't you guys just plan on coming here for 90 days and just doing a pilot and kind of getting your feet wet and have an imaginary relationship with this machine and tell me where you think your program needs to go in order for it to be really fulfilling and for you folks to walk away with the knowledge, kinds of knowledge that you want. And they got back to me today and they said, well, we're still up in the air over it. Basically, you know too much. It's kind of like the cheat sheet. You know, you've got all the answers. We won't learn anything if we come there and you tell us how to build it because we won't have figured it out. And I looked at that and went, okay, so they want to struggle. They want to run into problems. What I didn't have the heart to tell them right then is that that costs money. Because invariably, what you think is going to fix the problem requires an expenditure and some labor. And then you discover it doesn't fix the problem. So every fourth or fifth time you get it right, but the other three you got to pay through the nose. I do remember the journey, and I suppose, yes, you know, you learn to walk by falling down. But if I said to an instructor, you know, I don't think I'll really be a good walker if I don't fall down a bunch first, so you would teach me too much too fast, and so I really need to go out and just fall down a lot. I'm having trouble with the logic, folks. I'm really having trouble with the logic. But we'll see what they come back with. Anyway,
There is something to be said for learning from the mistakes others have made so that you're not repeating the same thing.
yeah. Yeah. Okay, interesting story. Okay, so I want you to take my radiation down to 400,000. Evan, give me 400,000 counts a minute. Power. 400. Careful, you're going the wrong way. So let's go to the console and then go to neutrons and see how close we got. Woohoo! Hey, you hit it right on. But you can also see that spike where you were going the wrong way. Pretty cool. Okay. Do we have any comments or questions out there in the gallery? Is anyone seeing out there in the gallery anything that we should be paying attention to?
Would you be able to put the monitor screen onto our screens?
That would be great. Unfortunately, I can't tonight. I uncabled it to add an extra camera to the garage.
Oh, okay. No worries.
So yeah. Oh, wait a minute. Somebody just made a brilliant suggestion. Hang on. Um, can you see much of that?
There's a lot of glare on it from all the lights.
Okay, let me try one more thing. Yeah, too much glare.
Carl, what if we turned off the lights? Would that help?
Um, no, I don't think we're gonna go there. We know what the problem is. We'll have it fixed for next time. Um, there's just the other thing this is pretty cool. We are 6 people in a room, and there really isn't a danger of catching COVID here. This is progress. We're all breathing extremely sterile air coming through a very rigorous set of filters, and then a very high level of radiation. We're going to go back to the classroom now, and I'm going to show you a little bit about that radiation. Now, hang on. Let's go ahead and hit high voltage, and then hit D2, and we'll just let it coast. Yeah. So if you guys could all unplug one at a time and return to the classroom. Okay, be back in the classroom. I want to talk to you tonight a little bit about what's going on with UVC radiation. I have no doubt that as we become more sensitive on this project that people are going to ask questions about. Whoops, I got a dead spot there. How this radiation is being employed and where it comes from and so on. So I have a demonstration for you tonight. I want to show you a little bit about what's going on inside our UVC oven. When I say oven, I'm going to explain why it's an oven tonight. So I have up here an ultraviolet fixture, and you folks are this. The folks on the internet will be able to see it. You're going to just have to remember what my head looks like. Maybe that isn't a good idea. Okay, so we normally use these UVC lights. But UVC, true UVC, you can't see it. So like when these bulbs up on the quarter hour, they emit a radiation that you can see. It's kind of a purplish blue. That's not UVC. That's just pretty blue light. As a matter of fact, can you bring up let's see. Got paper all over it. Let's do 16. Hit 16 all the way up. 16. That's 16. Thank you. Okay. This is highly dangerous UVC radiation light coming out of this. You can't. You folks can probably see it at home on the carpet. If you look down, those of you who are on the web, you'll see that the carpet's turning decidedly blue. All right. And it's that same general bluish glow that you see when the UVC, that's because this thing's covered with blue LEDs. And they're selling these things as UVC. And so I have this wonderful UVC detector here. And it says no bueno. I got a great big fat 0 coming out of this thing. So just because it's blue and bright doesn't mean it's UVC. So true UVC is something you can't see, but what I've done, these are UVC lamps are a little different than ordinary lamps. You can get them in 4-foot lengths, which are the standard fluorescent tube length, but they're very hard to find. The more common UVC lamp is 3-foot long, and that's what we use throughout our labs, is 3-foot UVC lamps. And I have a 3-foot fixture up here, but I put white lights in it. And the reason I put white lights in it is so you could see them. And that's kind of important, because it demonstrates how this works. Now on the inside of this pipe, I placed foil. It's an adhesive aluminum foil, and it makes a very reflective surface. Just so happens that aluminum foil is a material that has the second highest refractory index with UVC of any other material. Not even silver, gold will do as good a job as of reflecting UVC as aluminum will. So we use aluminum foil for that reason. In this case, I think my batteries are going dead. I've got a UVC reflector, and it's making a half circle around the bulbs, and when you look at it, you'll notice, I don't know, can you folks see that? Can everybody get to a place where they can see it? Tilt your head, whatever. Notice that the reflective area is as bright as the bulbs. Okay? So for you folks at home, you can see that the reflector is just like staring into the light itself. So what that does is that takes all of the light that would otherwise be shining off in the other direction and gives it back to us in a reflection. So in a sense, it doubles the light at any given value or distance above these two bulbs. If I go over here and I measure the intensity of the light at, say, 4 inches, and that intensity is 10, if I come over here and I measure that intensity, I will discover that that has now gone from 4 inches to 8 inches. Now, if it was a value of 10 at 4 inches, and now it's a value of 10 at 8 inches, what do you think the value is at 4? Let me ask the question again. I measure the bulb, and I get a value of 10 at 4 inches above the bulb. I put a reflector behind it, and now I am seeing that same reading, 10, at a distance of 8 inches. Double the height that I was seeing before. My question is, it was now 10 at 8. What is it at 4? I can't hear you.
Is it a squared function, so would it be 100? Or is it 20? Double?
It's not double.
Is it 100?
No, what's our formula?
Oh, I don't remember the formula.
4 pi r. It's 40. So if you double the distance, you quadruple the energy. So the energy back at 4 inches is now 40 units, whatever we're measuring. Now what happens when we place a lid on top of it, another half semicircle, and if you'll notice, I've got a complete pipe here, and the bulbs are passing through it, and the entire inside of this thing is completely covered in aluminum foil. And what we see is, if I stick my hand in front of this, you can see my hand is bright on the bottom, dark on the top. When I stick my hand in here, it's bright on the bottom and the top. What just happened to the amount of radiance, the intensity of the light in the center of that tube? Doubled it. Doubled it. So this is the technology. This is why we call it an oven. We've got two bulbs running down a 3-foot length of pipe. And the radiance from those bulbs is being amplified throughout the inside by what could be considered a concave lens. And the optical focal point of that concave lens is dead center in the middle of that tube. So now we send air in one end of that tube. How much radiance is lost by the air traveling through the tube? Come on, you folks at home. Don't let them run away with this. How much radiance is lost when we run the air through the tube?
None?
I would call it negligible. I would call it negligible. Understand that air's already been through 2 HEPA filters. We took all the dust, all the smoke, all the lint, everything out of it. The particulate has been reduced by 99.97%. This thing is set up to do one thing: kill COVID. That's it. That's all it lives for. It's waiting for that virin. And that thing's about 11 microns across. And it comes screaming in the end of that pipe, and it's going to travel 3 feet. How long does it take to travel 3 feet? Well, the question is, how long do we need it to take to travel 3 feet? If we know that this thing puts out 1,500 milliwatts, and we know that it takes 600 microwatts to to destroy COVID to a 90%, then it'll take 1,200 microwatts. That's 1.2 milliwatts. To raise that to 99.9. So 9.9 costs us doubling the effective radiation. So we're trying to get 1.2 so that we can say we have killed 99.9% of all the COVID, and we've got 15 milliwatts to play with. How fast can we send it through? Well, we haven't established a dose. I've been talking to you about milliwatts, but I haven't told you a length of time. You see, what it takes to kill COVID is not 600 microwatts. What it takes to kill COVID is 600 microjoules. A joule is a unit of energy that is considered a dose. And what it really resolves to is 1 second. So 600 microjoules or 1.2 millijoules require 1.2 milliwatts for 1 second. So if I've got 15 milliwatts, how fast can I push the air through that tube?
1/15 of a second.
Correct. Now, I can at least multiply by a factor of 10 and leave myself a healthy margin. So I can run 3 feet of air through that thing every 10th of a second. And every 10th of a second, 3 feet of air in a 4-inch tube translates to 450 cubic inches. So in 1 second, we've moved 4,500 cubic inches of air. 1,728 cubic inches is a cubic foot. So now we can calculate how many cubic feet of air we're moving. And we can calculate how many cubic feet per minute we're going to give each student. Because you see, we've got to give each student 6 cubic feet per minute. I said minute. We're moving 4,500 cubic inches per second. Multiply that times 60 and divide by 1728, and you discover we've got enough air to feed this entire class, all 16 people and some. So that's how the calculations went when we figured out what it was going to take to kill COVID and how we could do it in a 4-inch pipe using standard UVC bulbs available over the web. Now, last year and this year, we've been talking about innovation. Innovation is a capacity to take existing technology in various applications and reformat it to do something more than it's currently doing today. And what I want you to look out and see, all this piping all over this house, the headsets that have now been plumbed into and sandwiched into Teams, and we have this UVC lighting going off at 15-minute intervals, and all of it, none of it is original IP. None of it is original intellectual property. All of it is what we refer to as innovatively coupled ideas. But it's the substance of new markets, new toys, new tricks, new solutions. And right now, our nation needs a new solution for young people to get back to school. I'm convinced that in a few more sessions, we're going to have the bugs worked out of this the place where we could literally have all 12 students back in the classroom without any risk whatsoever. Yeah, it's awkward. Yeah, it's cumbersome. Yeah, you have to suit up and doff and off, and yeah, it's a mess. But wouldn't you rather do this and sit home? That's really what's at stake. So there's going to be some action. There's going to be some specific things that we need to do and say to raise the issue, to say, hey folks, wait a minute, hold it. We don't have to sit here and just wait for the medical community to come up with a magic bullet. In fact, I'm going to tell you something that's pretty hard to swallow. And it's my opinion. And that and $2 will get you a cup of coffee at a local restaurant if they'll let you in the door. But here's the problem. We've got a vaccine on the way that may be 50% effective. We've got a population of anti-vaxxers out there right now who are scared to death of vaccine. If they're not taking the vaccines, is the problem still at large? The problem is still at large. If we are at an R factor of less than 1, that's nice. But do you want to take the risk of bringing something home that'll be lethal to your mom or dad?
Could you clarify one thing?
Yeah.
If you were to take a vaccine, and say that vaccine is effective, does that still mean that you can carry the virus, or does it simply mean you won't be expressing any symptoms?
The intent of the vaccine is to stimulate your immune system into effectively eradicating the virus. In other words, your immune system will identify the virins and destroy them as dangerous.
So if the entire population took the vaccine, then there would be the possibility of eradicating COVID entirely.
Well, that's where we are with smallpox. We've been there a couple of times. Smallpox, we had it down to the place where smallpox only existed in a jar in some laboratories. And we could have wiped it out forever, but certain countries decided that it was too good of a weapon to let go of. I don't know the status of it today. However, I have to say that there are carriers, and I'm not enough of a biologist to tell you what makes them able to carry the pathogen and potentially pass it on in certain instances without becoming ill themselves. That's beyond my scope of medical knowledge.
I'm a biologist, I can tell you.
Okay, so we're gonna listen to a biologist for a moment, and he can tell us.
Yeah, plus I was a grad student in immunology for 6 years. One of your previous questions, that they're saying that they expect that the rate of protection is going to be 30 to 50%. And that means if you have the vaccine, you got a 50 to 70% chance you'd still be able to catch the virus and be affected by it. The idea is to get enough people immunized against it that you wouldn't have it. And everybody talks about herd immunity, but we're not going to reach that. There's too many problems with trying to get to herd immunity. But a person can, best example is Typhoid Mary. She did not have the symptoms of typhus. She was resistant to it, but she had the organism and she kept transmitting it to other people, and many people died because of her. They tried to isolate her, but she wouldn't stand for it. And she kept hiring on as a cook, spreading the disease. And so a carrier is somebody who doesn't have the symptoms. They're resistant to it for some reason. There's a lot of possibilities as to why they'd be resistant. But they do carry the organism and therefore can give it to others. And with COVID-19, one of the problems is that a number of people are asymptomatic. They don't have any symptoms. And we're already finding out that people who have had the disease and recovered are now getting reinfected. So the antibodies are not staying around, and that is a big problem. So it's just once they come up with the vaccine, we'll just have to see how it works. The scary thing right now, Russia's going to go ahead and release their vaccine, and it hasn't gone through the third step in trials, and 2 out of 3 vaccines that are developed do not make it on the third step. So they could end up giving that to a lot of people, and it could end up actually making it much worse, so that it would kill even more people.
Okay. The point that I'm trying to drive home tonight is all of these trials and waiting for somebody to come up with a quantity of vaccine significant enough to inoculate enough people to make an actual dent in the population and the rise of COVID that we're seeing right now is I think more than a year away. I think we're looking at least another year of this, and I think we desperately need some alternative solutions immediately. I noticed there's lawsuits now against the University of Washington. The students all want their money back because they basically didn't get to go to campus and have fun in Frosh Pond or whatever. But the bottom line is these institutions are dying on the vine because they can't return the students to the classroom. We may have the workaround right here in front of us. Now, it's not ideal, but it does work. And as we go ahead and refine it, it's going to become more tolerable and easier to use. Tonight we actually went in and ran a nuclear reactor. We actually worked together in the same room. Managed to maintain our isolation, yet still got to see each other's face. You got to see each other smile. You know how long it's been since I got to see somebody smile? You know, we're all running around looking like bandits. There is, I think, great merit in what we're doing here, and it's a challenge in front of us now to go ahead and do a little more refining and then raise the cry and say, hey folks, here's something that gets us part of the way there. Here's something that will at least get us back on campus and functioning day to day like we have a purpose. I encourage you to look at this as very valuable research, every bit as valuable as anything anyone else is doing out there in any laboratory with a virus. Perhaps more so because we're closer to the actual solution and we don't have nearly as many hoops from a federal standpoint to jump through in order to deploy it. There are very few regulations that will actually hinder us from unloading this technology. And I have a hunch there are several companies that'll be more than willing to jump in and take the model that we've prototyped and adapt their products and services to meet the criteria. But I would say we're probably 1 to 2 months at the most from closure on this, and I had our attorneys go ahead and file a pre-patent, which is holding the idea in abeyance right now, and they're in the process of working on a proposal. And then we've already had 2 universities express interest. So all in all, I think it's a very encouraging state of affairs for Northwest Nuclear Laboratories. And I'd love to see all of you listed as primary investigators in the original technology and get to carry a piece of this forward on your resume. I think it'd be very, very positive for you. I actually, at this point, don't need to apply for a job. I just thought you should know that, and so it doesn't do my resume any good at all. I'd rather it do something for you. Okay, we're down to go home o'clock. We're going to have these valves next week. We'll get to sample a new air supply. That'll be interesting. See if we can fully inflate these hoods. Have some ideas about that. And
Can I ask a
me?
quick question about the system itself?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
One of the obvious drawbacks of the system is having to tap in and tap out. Why isn't it that we use oxygen tanks that we can move across in?
Oxygen tanks deplete. Number one, they're very heavy, and number two, you're talking about something that goes down quickly. Yeah, we can manage to do it in 2 hours, but if you can think about what it's going to take for a day at class, it's a nightmare. You're talking dozens of tanks of air. So the click in and click out, we're still in the process of refining that, but it really isn't as bad. Can you guys give me your experience in the room? What is clicking in and clicking out? Is it that cumbersome for you?
I think it's pretty easy. The only problem I could see is like for university students, like would you have to walk across campus with this without like having it plugged into oxygen? That's the only kind of part that's kind of sketchy to me. I don't know.
Yeah, we couldn't do that. Period. You know that would not work. You're gonna have to have a way to remove the hood when you're traveling between buildings and wear some other kind of a face mask or something. Obviously, this is specific to the building you're in, but again, for folks who work at companies like Microsoft, I do. I come in my office in the morning, and I'm in the same building all day. And if that building were set up like this one is, I could navigate all the labs. I could navigate the bathrooms. I could navigate the lunchroom. I could, essentially take care of business. We could have some small portable units that blow air that have a HEPA filter in them, but they won't be as stringent a quality as the air that we're getting out of the UVC ovens. That has been sterilized. We know it. We know it's clean. So that's the positive. Okay, we're gonna start heading back.